Hey everyone, and welcome to my presentation on the Hamartia of an Unaware Tyrant. In this presentation, I compared Creon from Antigone, President Snow from the Hunger Games trilogy, and Brutus from Julius Caesar. While there are many things to compare between these three characters, I decided to focus on the fact that they were led by ignorance towards the results of their actions, proving those in authority are unaware of the reality of the world around them. They did this by taking the wrong approach, which made them fail in achieving what they hoped to accomplish. The first character I'll be talking about is Creon from Antigone. This drawing is just a recap of Creon's story and explains the mistake that Creon makes by deciding to not allow Polynices to be buried. Relating back to the theme, this can be seen as an act of ignorance. By stating that Polynices is to have no burial, Creon was solidifying the theme that leaders are unaware of the world around them. Creon's overall intentions were good. His goal was to keep the country loyal and trust in him as a ruler. However, he did this by asserting his dominance and being strict with his own flesh and blood. Even though he had good motives, his end result didn't justify the means he took to get there. By saying, if I permit my family to rebel, how will I earn the world's obedience? Creon was committing yet another act of ignorance. He believed that if he didn't punish Antigone for her crimes, he would lose the loyalty of the people, because they would see him as weak. However, this is ironic, because by punishing his own family and making it so public, he's actually resulting in losing the citizens' obedience to him, because they think he's unreasonable and going against the ways of the gods. Overall, Creon wasn't aware that by punishing his family, he was not getting the end result he desired, which was the loyalty of his subjects, but rather a very undesirable fate. The next leader I'll be talking about is President Snow from the Hunger Games trilogy. This drawing is also a recap and talks about President Snow's decision to throw all the victors back into the Hunger Games. However, by doing this, he was actually uniting them, which resulted in the victors going against the capital. This idea is also seen when Katniss says, the victors begin to join hands. All 24 of us stand in one unbroken line in what must be the first public show of unity among the districts since the Dark Days. This once again talks about the fact that President Snow tried to kill off the victors so they didn't become martyrs in a revolution. However, he pushed them too far to the point where they eventually pushed back, but this time with the people that Snow originally intended for them to kill in the games. By not realizing that putting all the faces of the rebellion in one place, regardless of what they were doing, he gave them exactly what they needed to fight against the capital. President Snow also happens to bear a strong theme of being unaware of the result of his actions. When he gave his quarter call speech announcing that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital, it shows that he was trying to prevent the war by putting people into submission, rather than listening to what they have to say. The right choice would have been to listen to what the rebels wanted and then accommodate their needs until loss. However, his pride resulted in him being unable to have anyone else with an authoritative voice. His drive for power motivated him into refusing to allow anyone else any degree of authoritative rule. By letting his personal issues stand in the way of reaching his goal, President Snow was unable to prevent war and cause chaos in the process. The last character that fits the theme of leaders' figures being unaware of the world around them is Brutus from Julius Caesar. Even though he differs because he was not the leader of the country, he still had a large amount of control over his group of conspirators and a high position in the Roman government. Because of this, he is still able to be compared to the others. Brutus is seen in this quote contributing to my thesis because he thought that by allowing Antony to speak at Caesar's funeral, he would appear to be caring and sympathetic, since he's allowing him to be remembered in a positive way. However, this actually backfired because Antony showed Caesar as a considerate and innocent man, which counteracted Caesar being perceived as ambitious, which is Brutus's goal. This shows Brutus being insensible in many aspects because he's allowing a person he hurt to speak highly of him and trusting that he will actually do so. Similar to Snow and Creon, Brutus had heroic intentions as he was trying to save Rome by ending the democracy. But he did this by planning to murder the leader and his close friend, which had detrimental outcomes and resulted in revolts and the eventual fall of the Republic. Brutus felt compelled to do what was right, but by killing Caesar, he hurt the ones he loved and failed to achieve his goal. He states that he killed not thee with half so good a will because he is justifying that he achieved his goal in the wrong manner. Finally, I compared my theme to Hitler, who was a leader from history. People in authority being unaware of the reality of the world around them is a theme that is constantly seen throughout history. An example of this would be Hitler, who didn't realize that genocide was a cruel endeavor, and you can't kill off a whole race just because they didn't like their traditions and beliefs. Being a leader means that you are allowed to make laws, however, there's also a moral code that all people will have to follow, and being in power doesn't make that any less important. Thank you for following along the comparisons of these three characters.